got smash and grabs that are happening in various parts of the country, primarily some larger cities. What are smash and grabs? It's organized retail theft, and it is not a victimless crime. It's something that obviously impacts the retailers. It impacts tax dollars. It's something that some are looking to try to get a hold of. And one of those individuals trying to get a hold of this is the House Minority Leader here in Illinois, Jim Durkin. He filed a bill that would do a variety of things, and I talked with him yesterday about it. Here's some of what he had to say his bill ultimately would do to address what's known as smash and grab crimes. Here's House Minority Leader Jim Durkin here on WMAY.
I introduced the other day House Bill 4275. I live in the suburbs of Chicago. I spend a lot of money in Chicago like a lot of people do. It's a destination place. It's a beautiful city, but I also live in suburbs where I have major shopping centers accessible to myself, my constituents, and people from all over the states. The street gangs, particularly the organized street gangs who have been destroying our streets, our neighborhoods for years, have now branched out into retail theft. This process, and what I'm talking about, is the smash and grabs that are going on in Chicago, in our retail areas, all over. It's not just the Gold Coast, it's the South Side, it's the West Side, but it's all over the suburbs. These are a highly sophisticated group of criminals who are targeting locations. They're doing this on a very sophisticated level, and then while some of these things are taking less than 2 or 3 minutes, where the up to $1 million in product is removed from a location, and that just happened last weekend at a car dealership. But what's happening after this is that these thieves, these criminals, as I said earlier, they're part of an organized process. This is then going to an online marketplace where this is being resold, and that is what people need to realize. That this is not a situation where it's just a couple rummies who are selling stolen goods out of the trunk of their car, or they're trying to sell it for a discount over at the Maxwell Street markets in Chicago. These are highly sophisticated, and so with my bill that I'm trying to pass is that we have to treat these groups of individuals the same way we treat the street gangs in Chicago, the Four Corner Hustlers, the Gangster Disciples. We treat them the same way as we do under RICO and conspiracy prosecutions, and that is what I'm trying to attempt. And what I want to accomplish. The problem we have is that we have a state's attorney in Cook County who refuses to acknowledge that retail theft is a real crime, and she has stuck her head in the sand when it comes to these types of matters. She should be demanding stronger laws under the books in Springfield, because there are no consequences under her rule. She sticks her head in the sand when it comes to this. And that is part of the problem, that what she has created, Governor Pritzker, when he signed the anti-police and anti-victim bill earlier this year, and the chief judge of Cook County, they have created a consequence-free Illinois for criminals and also gang members. And that is why you've seen how brazen and how violent these attacks have gone. And based on my reading of the statutes, there is a kind of a gray area that I need to be able to fill in with this legislation.
We're hearing a conversation I had with House Minority Leader Jim Durkin yesterday about a bill he filed to make organized retail theft a crime punishable up to 15 years in prison. And he said that this is something that obviously is important. We'll hear some of his criticism of Democrats, but they did get a note from the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. I'll share that with you. He says, this coming from Rob Carr, the executive director of the Illinois Retail Merchants Association. While we appreciate Leader Durkin's continued support of the retail community, as well as his efforts to ensure retailers can continue to operate safely in Illinois, we're in need of policies that best addresses the many complexities of organized crime. To that end, we will soon be unveiling a proposal that advocates for comprehensive solutions. I asked Leader Durkin if he knows what any of those possible proposals are that the Illinois Retail Merchants Association says they're going to try to bring forward.
I'm not sure either, but the fact is, I look forward to them doing it. I'm glad that somebody's doing something about this, instead of, as I said earlier, just saying, oh, shucks, you know what? Maybe this will, someday this will just kind of go away. But the fact is, it's not going to go away. This is it's almost a pandemic in itself. This is just destroying lives of families, of businesses, large businesses, small mom and pop businesses throughout the Chicagoland area. And as I said earlier, there's no consequence. These people need to be charged. They need to be held before a court of law, and it has to be done soon. And I'm floored that I have not received or heard any type of at least angst or aggravation from the Democrat leaders in this state about this problem. So it shows you the priorities of what the Democrats have, from the governor to the state's attorney and also the Democrat leaders who have turned their back on police and are trying to figure out a way how they can solve the problems and the mess that they created a year before. But the fact is, this is not a political issue. This is reality. This is reality. It's what's happening every day and every night in the city of Chicago and also in the suburbs. And someone has to do something, and that is why I'm stepping forward and saying that this has to be treated how the same way we treat organized crime and street gangs. How we do that, whether it's through a RICO or conspiracy type of investigation, we have to treat these criminals the same way.
Again, sharing some of the conversation I had with House Minority Leader Jim Durkin here, talking about his bill that he filed, and saying that he really hasn't heard much from Democrats. And Democrats take an approach at the State House when it comes to criminal justice, looking at data and at making data-driven decisions. Leader Durkin says, well, the data is there's $4 billion of retail theft. More from Leader Durkin.
It's not victimless. Absolutely not. This affects families. It affects families because, you know what? It affects the state of Illinois. And you know what? We're talking $4 billion worth of sales tax that are not going to go back to our local governments. But think about the trauma that that employee has when these groups come in with their smash and grabs, whether it is through a hammer, through a any other type of bludgeon, or with an automatic weapon. Are they going to want to go back to work? This is a terrible is a terrible psychological effect upon the employees. But think again about the customer who's in there witnessing this. This is not victimless. These are hardened criminals who are causing devastation to businesses and to families. And they have to be treated. Someone has to step up and say that this is not going to be tolerated. We have to be able to get behind our police. But more importantly, where is the outcry from the Democrats? I'm the Republican minority leader in the House of Representatives. I pay taxes in Cook County. I'm glad to, but those taxes support the state's attorney of Cook County. And the fact is, she has turned her back on victims when she supported that anti-police bill, but she still is reconsidering her position on whether or not retail theft should be treated seriously. You know, I'll just say that there's karma, and we will deal with this accordingly. But there will be consequences. There'll be consequences for those who've turned their backs on victims, and also taxpayers of Illinois, particularly in Chicago and the suburbs.
Again, that's House Minority Leader Jim Durkin, a little bit of the conversation I had with him yesterday. And I did reach out to the House Speaker's office for a statement in reaction. I haven't heard anything back. I did reach out also to the Senate President's office and did hear back. And the Senate President's office says, we're all aware of this issue, and there are ongoing discussions with retailers about how to effectively address the problem. We're hopeful to have legislation proposed ready for the upcoming session. They return in early January, so we'll see what happens with that issue. So that is a bit of the back and forth here when it comes to smash and grabs right here on WMAY.